Probably the darkest we've gone so far. Dead Silence. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. It's, I mean, it is a
It's a definite
fairly
horror
decent
film, right?
horror film. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you, like, before we were watching it, you looked it up and it said that it was identified as a thriller. Would you call it a thriller?
I mean, maybe, but not as like a defining characteristic of it.
No,
No
no,
way.
yeah, it's thrilling, I guess, in some sequences, but thrilling in the kind of terrifying, thrilling way. Hey, my heart's racing so fast, I don't know what to do. For some people, um, but yeah, this was really just probably the most brutally graphic horror film we've tackled so far, and it was great. I liked it. There's lots of gore. There's lots of scares. Jake, what'd you think?
I'm not a real big fan of the movie.
No,
No, and I think because it was more recent and it's a high budget movie, I can judge it a little more harshly.
fair enough.
It just feels very much like a late 2000s movie. It follows the same pacing as so many others, and there are a few scares that they almost set it apart from those other, late 2000s movies, but I don't think it was enough to keep me.
Not enough to keep you entertained or feeling like, hey, this is a really unique or groundbreaking horror
Right.
film.
Yeah.
It was very much to the point, following a standard formula. I can agree with that. I definitely can agree with that. I think this one handles it a little bit better than some of the other overly produced ones, though. Like if we were to put this side by side with the Paranormal Activity franchise or the Insidious franchise, for instance, I'd say this one standalone film holds more weight than maybe either of those franchises' sequels combined. Like if you were to take four movies, it still doesn't stack up to this one. That's just my opinion. I mean, I definitely get what you're saying, but I feel like this one it polishes it just enough. Like it does just enough of the right things to stay above that crowd, but it is right there. It's definitely a late thousands horror film. You've got all those typical things that you see. Even the actors scream late thousands kind of.
Right, right.
I mean, we got discount characters. Unfortunately, it feels like Donnie Wahlberg stepping in. Whereas if that movie had come out 10 years earlier, that would have been Mark Wahlberg or some grizzled older veteran actor. But because it's late thousands, you get who you can get. um, all right, so let's lay out the plot loosely. How would you do this without spoiling the movie? How would you lay out the plot?
I mean, essentially, it's just it is a ghost story come to life.
Yeah, I mean, quite that simple. You've got a town that this ghost story has been like haunting the town for quite some time. A person who's clearly was part of that town left for whatever reasons, and the ghost story kind of brings them back in. And I like the way this town seems to be just so overwhelmingly affected by this particular ghost story. A lot of these movies where there's a town, it's like, oh, we don't talk about that, and there's a bunch of people, and there's always this one crotchety old guy, which this movie has that crotchety old guy and stuff. But it just seems so overwhelming, and we get such a limited scope of people in the town. It almost feels like the town's been completely destroyed by this. Like, there is no Ravens Fair anymore. I almost feel like the movie was too dark, and I don't mean dark as in like dark and creepy. I mean dark as in the lighting just seemed a little too dull, too dim all the time. There were some moments where it's like, oh, that'd be a little bit more effective if we could just see it a little more clearly.
Well, it kind of made me wonder if they were trying to hide puppet strings or puppeteers in the background.
Yeah, and I definitely could see that. There are a lot of scenes, especially towards the end, where that would be a very relevant concern. And in those sequences, it does shine how they use the darkness to their advantage.
Mm.
But it feels like if that was the case, if that's what they were going for, why didn't we get a little bit more animation out of some of these side puppets? At the end of the day, we only really saw activity from three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it would be three of them. I mean,
Yeah,
other than that, it just came down to a puppet turning its head.
yeah, for the most part, yes. Um, which is fine because it could have easily gotten out of hand where it's like, oh yeah, there's 101 of these things, and we're going to show every single one of them on screen doing something, and that could have ended terribly as well. a creepy package shows up at your door. Are you gonna leave it inside? Like if that thing showed up at your door in the beginning, are you gonna take that inside your house and leave it there with your significant other while you go out and get Chinese food?
I wouldn't see anything wrong with that, but
even after the death, he had it set up in his backseat when he was driving.
Exactly.
And the seats next to him. It seemed a little strange how carefully he placed this doll, even though he was, almost catching on to the fact that something was wrong with it.
That, and he knows for a fact that he's innocent, but he makes himself seem very freaking guilty. Any chance he gets to make himself be more suspicious, he's going to be more suspicious. I really don't want to have to arrest you in front of your mom. Please don't make me do this. Immediately pushes the cop and runs away. Yeah, because that's going to help your case. That is the right way to handle that situation, clearly. But all that didn't really hurt the film. I expect that of the characters that are kind of basically expected to be cattle, which this movie does not hold back on. There's no character, even the main character, who's at any point you feel is invincible or exempt from what's going on. Anyone could die. And that was really cool. Now, the very end sequence, the shocking twist there. What do we think? Without saying it, what do we think of it?
I liked the feeling that you get of revealing the puppeteer, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing bad about it in my
Yeah, like it's pretty solid. I mean, it changed the direction of things. The first kind of curveball there was going back to Marion, as you were talking about, when she describes who particularly came and that she saw go by. That was a little bit of a curveball because you're up until that point, that character you see as kind of very stuck where they're at, so you don't expect them to be doing anything. Jake, what about you? The big plot twist at the end, or maybe not so much a plot twist, but just surprise ending?
I'm a little biased because I knew it was coming, so I was looking for those little clues that the movie definitely lays out in the earlier scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking for those. So I'm a little biased. It's a good twist. I do have a problem with it being that the puppeteer, so to speak, her role isn't defined when you first meet that character. Or
Yeah.
her, I guess.
Yeah, but lots of ambiguity to the character, and nobody questions it. That's what's really weird.
Right.
In a movie where it seems like everyone's suspect and questioned, there are a couple characters who certainly just are above suspicion for no reason at all. Overall, decent horror film. Maybe a little bit too late for this kind of movie. If it had come out earlier, it had gotten ahead of some of those other ghost stories, it might have done a lot better. Certainly not like a bad movie, though. Are we going to still give this one a recommendation people should watch?
Yeah, I'd say people should watch it as a, if they're looking for a scary horror film. Or...
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I think you could totally pass right by this one and pick up another late 2000. That's what
Okay.
it seems like to me.
I will accept that. That's a fair thing. So we've got two people say watch it, one pass on this one, and that's that's acceptable. All right. So overall ratings then. We'll start with me this time. I am going to give Dead Silence a 6.5. And that's despite having a lot of things I like about it. I'm giving that 6.5 because I think that on an out of 10 scale, it deserves that. It puts in 6.5 amount of effort overall. It does enough things right that it's above mediocrity there, but it's not a masterpiece.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go close with that. I got 7.5 for it, because, like you said, the effort that it puts in, and it doesn't. There are still some flaws with it, that kind of detract from the experience of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
5?
And I think a lot of that is saved just because there are some really good moments. I mean, there are truly good moments in this movie. So I'll stick it at a 5.
All right. So we got a 6.5, 7.5, and a solid 5. overall, this one's the take it or leave it kind of movie. Like it's of the movies we've seen, I would put this one at the bottom of the list, but I still think it makes the list. It's part of 31 Days of Halloween. All right, guys. Well, if you liked the review of our Dead Silence here, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down, but let us know why. And of course, if you could go ahead and subscribe, I'd appreciate it oh so much. This has been another 31 Days of Halloween. See ya.